just on the subject of law changes, now France, Scotland, another farce in my view from it was the sort of the kick tennis that took place in the second half. And I think for people at home that don't quite understand how that law, it's not really a law, it's a loophole. And well, mainstream media is calling it the Dupont law because it was discovered by Antoine Dupont at Toulouse. And a lot of players, Finn Russell inclusive, have followed suit. So it basically designates that players in an offside position after a kick has taken place don't actually have to go back until they are onside if they start more than 10 meters back from where the ball has come down. So as a result, what you saw on Saturday, it was a bunch of ridiculous kick tennis between Jalibert, Ramos, Russell, where each player would just stand absolutely static. Peter, what do you make of that whole loophole? Do you think it's just one of those cases where a loophole has now been found and it's time to put a plug in it? Because it's, well, Scotland-France, we build it as the most exciting game of the weekend, and the second half until it was dud. It was absolutely awful to watch.
Yeah, well, clearly something probably has to be done about it. It's I mean, it's smart play from the French to work, to decide that's their policy, but it's not. I mean, it's not good for the game, is it? It's not good for spectacle. I think you should at least have players moving back until they're put onside. So having to move back and so somebody has to get in front of them and put them onside. Otherwise we'll just get what we had at the weekend.
I mean, it is a sort of loophole, but at the same time, the reason it happens is that the kicker and the bloke next to the kicker no longer run forward. Or when they decide, okay, we're going to do kick tennis now, they no longer run forward to put the players onside. Yeah. So it's an absolutely conscious decision from the side to start off with. Then it's a conscious decision from the team receiving. And I thought it was dull as hell by Scotland to do that. It completely played into France's hand. Scotland are a counter-attacking team, a tempo team. They slowed everything down. And at the very least, you'd think you'd use the opportunity to bring some of your players back and get in position for the next counter-attack. I think I described it. It's like having 2 or 3 free chess moves in a chess game. Mm-hmm. You can do that while this is going on. But they didn't even come up with that, Scotland. And, I was annoyed at the TMO decision, but actually Scotland didn't deserve to win that match. No. They had the winning of that match entirely in their hands. They lost momentum there totally, and I don't want to see that again on a rugby pitch. That sort of quick tennis, it's a big turn off, and it doesn't make sense.
Finn Russell was actually counting his steps, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, not in a showpiece event. I mean, this is meant to be the gold standard of the game.
Yeah.
And I think it was 2016 when, as in Scotland were 2016 down when Russell and co were happy to engage in that. So I was going to highlight that, as you said, Brendan, that Scotland really, they didn't take it to France enough. And you could say the decision was somewhat not karmic in that respect, but it certainly, like you say, they didn't deserve to win the game.
Yeah. The mindset was disappointing. Nick was absolutely right. I mean, leaving aside the stuff at the end with the TMO, they could have scored that try in 12 different ways.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
I mean, there was one that either the penultimate or the pre-penultimate 2-inch drive towards the line. You actually saw Finn Russell walking, and I mean, literally walking very slowly, organising his backs, behind the forward activity on the line. And you would have thought, if you're down and it's the last play and what have you, you wouldn't just be ambling and vaguely waving your hands.
He had his back to the ball. He had his back on the ruck.
He had his back to the ball, which is extraordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you assume you're going to get the ball back because it's a little bit difficult for the defending side because everyone plays differently in the last 5 minutes of the game anyway. As soon as they've lost possession, everyone defends differently. It's a no penalties defense, isn't it? Or else you're going to be 5 meters from your line, and we know the problems. And that's one of the reasons why I get rid of the game clock. I get rid of the bloody thing. I would not have players looking up from the pitch. I mean, the worst of it was people just running down the clock while lining up a place kick. That was terrible. That was terrible. And I would just, back when Peter was playing, well, certainly in the early part of his career, you'd ask the referee how long there is left, and he'd say, "Well, what's it got to do with you?" And you play on until, I mean, you might sense that it might be the last play, but that game clock gives a side far too much certainty and allows them to game the system basically, and I get rid of it. God, I'm sounding like Victor Meldrew.